Hi, I'm Marty. This is EMP Disaster Plan, and today we're talking about managing people's mental states in a disaster. In any emergency or disaster situation, the number one priority is going to be managing your own and your family's mental state. Why do I say this? The worst thing that can happen is people panic. In a situation where the lights go out, everyone's thrown into the dark, immediately everyone will get tense. They may start to panic, they may start to question what's going on, especially in a situation where it's not just a normal blackout. It's for this reason, I believe, when you're preparing for a disaster, simply stocking up on food and water, not even close to enough. What you need to be doing is thinking about your and your family's regular daily routine. People are creatures of habit. They don't like when their habits change, when their daily routine is set askew. Whatever you can do for a long or extended blackout, I don't mean permanent, but I mean long extended blackout, whatever you can do to normalize their routine will be a huge benefit, and it will allow you to free yourself from dealing with those situations to dealing with the larger situation of the emergency at hand. That's why when I say preparing for a blackout, preparing for 30 days, I'm not simply talking about food. I'm not simply talking about water. I'm talking about normalizing life as best as you possibly can. This involves a fair amount of preparedness, but not an unmanageable amount. Preparing ahead of time so that you can generate, let's say, a small amount of electricity, being various kinds of generators, which we'll go into later, perhaps an off-grid solar setup, something that will allow you to generate enough electricity that perhaps you can run a chest freezer, which everyone should have, charge everyone's cell phones, and even if the cell system is down and the internet's down, making sure that on those phones and tablets and laptops and whatnot, there's games that perhaps the kids can play, or movies, or whatever the entertainment is, just enough normalization so that people aren't cast into nothingness. Today's modern society, people are very attached to phones and tablets and the internet. Going cold turkey is never good. In the case of, let's say, a hurricane, power goes out, simply having some games for the kids to play on their tablets that doesn't require the internet can mitigate the situation tremendously, especially if you have simply enough power to keep those things charged and running. Also, larger scale things, such as perhaps an on-demand water heater, in case you happen to have running water, a system to maybe heat water, even if you don't have running water. People need to have some normalcy. Normalcy can be, of course, as we discussed, the internet and things like that. Can be simple as making a cup of coffee in the morning. it can be, and actually very critical, is allowing people to take a shower every day, at least every other day. Mental state is the number one thing which has to be maintained to be able to keep a clear head, a clear focus, and to keep people reasonably happy as best as you possibly can. So when you're preparing, when you're thinking of how to prepare, keep that in mind. Simply stocking up on food and water and ammunition and whatever it might be isn't enough. Those things are important. It isn't enough. It's important that your and your family's daily life is normalized as much as you possibly can. In the case of a long-term EMP type scenario where the power is not coming back up, this will allow people the time to gradually transition, whereas as opposed to simply the cold turkey method of everything goes away. In the case of an EMP, people have Faraday cages. Typically they're putting away communications devices, various and sundry electronics, keeping a tablet and maybe some old phones or whatever in there loaded with some entertainment. Huge, huge boon to everyone's mental state. Preparing is way more than stocking up on rice and beans. That's just one key aspect for the very long term. However, even when it comes to food, I strongly recommend everyone keep a month worth of food and water. But when I say that, I mean regular food, the food you normally eat every day, or as close as you can come anyway. I don't mean pallets of rice and beans, unless that's what you eat every day. Normalcy is important. It's key. If you have a clear head, but everyone around you is in panic mode and bored and upset, and it's going to be an added burden which is just not necessary. Now is the time. The best way I can say to do this, think about your daily routine, every single aspect of your routine, and every single aspect of everyone in your family's daily routine. What do they need to normalize for a month? Make the preparations, prepare for it, and then when such an event happens, whatever the disaster may be, your family is going to fare far better than everyone around you. Thank you very much. Please, I ask that you subscribe to the channel. Stay updated with all of the information I'm trying to disseminate.